So for me, it's like the heart of a mom and the heart of an inspirational speaker. You know, it's both. It's melded. It just matched everything that I had ever thought about for a life purpose. And here's the vehicle, which he does amazing things, and we're going to talk about that now for a few minutes. But doesn't even realize that he's got his hands on this, or how wise it is, or brilliant it is, because the simplicity behind the philosophy is there. It's so simple. Don't you?
The kids are the same everywhere you go. Parents are the same everywhere you go. And what a great way to share the love with, not just in a small group, but just with everybody who's open. And that's really what it's going to be.
Yeah. Right.
And now being able to take this to the world and the technology and the venue, well, that's why you're seeing it now. But it's been around, been doing it for a long time. I had a 10-year span to, let's say, figure things out the hard way of what works and what doesn't. But I was literally in denial for like 5 years of running this program. And the part of being in denial is that every parent wants the best or is open to do the right thing for their kids.
Right.
And so, you know, some parents do or don't step up. But the ones that actually are open and do look, oh, this wonderful things happen. I mean, this program.
Yeah, and as a mom's defense, we just do what we were taught to do. I mean, you've got generation after generation, you know, parents parenting kids who grow up to parent kids exactly the way they were parented, with a few changes. Like, I'm sure you've thought to yourself before, I'm never gonna, you know, say that like my mom did, or, you know, and then you catch yourself saying it as like a last resort reaction. You find yourself yelling at your kid, "You have to go to school because I want the best for you." We know it's not right. But to look within inside yourself and go, "Oh my God, it's not my kid. My kid really doesn't have attention deficit disorder. Oh my God, my kid really doesn't have all these behavior issues." If I could switch my approach as a parent, that's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
So as the parent's defense, I really do believe we all want what's best for our kids. We want to love our kids. We want them to have successful lives. But sometimes we're so caught up within our own egos, or, you know, with what we believe is right. Because for me, when I first started interacting with Thomas and he started sharing, you know, some techniques with the kids, and I almost felt like he was judging my parenting. You know, like I was a horrible mom or a bad mom before because I didn't know any better. And so for me to actually admit that it wasn't my kids just didn't come out of my body screaming, temper tantruming, ungrateful, and they don't wake up every morning going, "I really want to make my mom angry today, so I'm going to do this or that." For sure, your kid's not doing that either. But I do want you to understand this, parents, is that your kids, who they are, how they act, who they grow up to be, is because you've programmed them that way. You really have. That's one thing I know for sure after 20 years of studying personal development. So no matter how you feel, there's nobody judging you. I'm right where 98% of the population is for parents, using timeout techniques, punishment, removal of privileges. Those are all outdated punishment techniques. So let's talk about the new Creating Champions for Life philosophy, the movement of Creating Champions for Life. Several thousand children went through your program, and you saw a success rate with every kid.
Oh, every kid.
Every kid
who was in the program, and the key part was, you know, if the parent felt to give me the kid and say, "Fix my kid," well, I'll fix the kid. The kid will be in the environment and be great. And then if it went back to the dysfunctional punishment environment, well, how many times do you go play in the mud, get all dirty, take off your dirty clothes, shower, and then put the dirty clothes back on?
There was a lot of like monthly themes we would do, or called like ninja nights, where the kids would, the parents would drop off. It was better known as kid-free night for the parents, maybe date night for the single moms, right, and dads. And they'd give us the kids, and we would have a theme where we'd either do a Mariner baseball night, we'd go to the Museum of Flight.
I mean, let me ask you a question, right? Because you could take your child to any mall, grocery store, or a field trip and and experience self-control, responsibility, self-discipline, good attention, focus with your one child. Could you imagine taking over 100 children at a time to the same errand to the grocery store? That's what Thomas did, and it amazes me. You amaze me, and I thank you so much for the price that you paid, but share one story.
So one of the trips that we did was there's a very large mall, and all the kids basically earned things that they were going to have, which was mall money. And this is so much fun because there's so many things that you'd go to the mall and you would see every single kid, one parent typically with like 1 or 2 kids, maybe
Right.
3, and it was like mayhem for the parents. They're like, oh gosh, I don't even want to bring my kids when I go to the grocery
Right.
store, the
Kids
mall,
screaming,
whatever.
buy me this, buy me this, buy me this.
Right. And so here's the kids, and you see these kids lining up in twos, all lined up, straight line, all in attention stance, all doing their things that they're doing. And we even got a letter from the mall owner. There was other parents, and this is so much, I mean, you see it everywhere you go. These parents are like, see those kids? Why can't you act more like them? And then we're just like, gosh, Mom, if you knew, they can.
If
It's
you
always
knew.
a process. See, one of the things that I observed in the martial art training is, one is it's all punishment oriented. You know, I remember coming up, you got hit with the bamboo stick if your stance wasn't right. So as I made a commitment to myself, when I got high enough and I was going to run a school, I was going to look at, well, what's the opposite of punishment? Well, that's the guiding the behavior. See, I was diagnosed with dyslexia at a very young age, and I believe it was an actual gift because I could see both sides of the equation. Punishment. So I was like, here's these kids coming up in these ranks, and they could be in the system for 2-3 years in some other schools, but their character development was still the same. They weren't responsible. They were still like halfway through the ranking system, and Mom was still tying their belt before they went to class. I'm like, I mean, in Japan, you can get a black belt in anything because it means excellence. It's something to move up. We can go anywhere around the world and talk to any parents, any kids, anywhere, and that's really why you're here, Bonnie, because you're that magical person that, I mean, as a mom that's so passionate that is just reaching out to other parents, because if they knew just a little bit of what you know now,
just a little bit, it would save families.
Punishment.
Right.
And when you can shift it to guiding.
It is amazing. It is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The kids when they first came, as like I may have mentioned earlier, is, you know, here's my kid, fix him. He doesn't listen to me. He won't do his homework. He doesn't go to school. He backtalks. The rich kids were just as bad as the inner city kids. So Rich actually had more of a default because parents would just throw money at him like, well, here, I got your whole room of toys, leave me alone.
Right.
One that comes to mind, his name was Brandon. He was in 5th grade at the time, and one of our field trips we went to was to the library. Simply pick out any book you like, learn something new, and share it with the group. So as we got to the library, he was throwing, you know, saying bad words and throwing things around and having a real tornado effect. He was literally throwing things and, you know, threatening to run away. And I'm like, okay. So you could attack the actual, you know, you're going to do this kind of punishment.
Right.
You know, like
time out, you can't go to the library now, that kind of thing would be very normal.
Yeah, when I met with his dad was like, boy, you're embarrassing me, I'm going to beat you, and all these other things. So very punishment oriented. And it's like, okay, well, it comes down to very simple, and this is one of the modules, right? It's like complaining. You know, complaining is really simple. It's a way of communicating that when we decipher it on our end, it's either they don't know how to do something because no one's ever taught them the life skill, and they don't know how to ask for help.
Right.
Or they just simply don't want to. And they found out that if they do certain in a certain way, people will give up on them or they'll do it for them.
Yeah, correct.
So he's acted out in such a way that teachers go, oh, okay, settle down. You don't have to go to the library. Okay, I won.
Wow.
So long and story of the short is we got him tested. I'm like, you know what? I believe he doesn't even know how to read.
Okay.
This is like the first week that he's in our program. And sure enough, we got him tested. He's in 5th grade. He has below a 1st grade reading level. It was when we got him tested, we got him in the right class, we got him in the right thing to get him started, to catch him up. And then Dad and him had a chance to do a 10-15 minute starting session of doing reading together to
Okay.
help build. I mean, it was all these just common sense things that got into place that were missed for 4 years. I don't know how, but in this one it seemed just like the no-brainer. There it is.
Wow.
So when that actually got shifted and addressed and we worked on that, oh my gosh, this is a great boy. Well, he always was.
Right. He always was. Yeah.
And that's
Oh
just
my
applying
gosh.
the philosophy to, just this one example.
That's so amazing, because that would be a child right there that would be diagnosed with attention deficit disorder.
Or amongst anything else, it'd be
Well,
diagnosed with X.
right, with some sort of behavioral disorder where we got to
Right.
medicate the kid so he doesn't throw things around when really he doesn't know how to read and he's embarrassed.
Much fun.
No, I love that because, one of my kids was in grade 3, I believe, and he was having trouble reading. His IQ was off the charts, brilliant, but when it came to reading, he had a learning disability there. And so, he was starting to act out very similar to this Brandon child, throwing things around, temper tantrum, class clown, that kind of thing, to the point where they diagnosed him with attention deficit disorder. Well, it's not attention deficit disorder. It's they don't know how to read properly, and they start throwing up all of this. Now, I'm not saying if your child has attention deficit, who am I? All I know is that 3 out of 4 of my kids were diagnosed with attention deficit. The oldest one was prescribed a drug. I didn't like the result or the effect of the drug, and so I started doing some research and handling things some other way. But that right there, the child just doesn't know how to read. And so he starts throwing things and temper tantrum and throwing this behavior that most people would deem a behavior disorder. So Thomas actually ended up over a 10-year period of time, had over 2,000 children actually register and attend and go through your program.
Well, I mean, there's countless and countless results, but overall, what each of the children would be seeing, and you would see a character development where, the first step was that self-control. They would learn to have control of their body and their actions. Is that when they knew the reward, they wanted to earn their orange belt.
Right. Yeah.
Then they'd actually start to develop that responsibility, which means they began to get rid of excuses. They began to take on that ownership of it is to be, it is up to me. Oh, this is 100% every single child.
Every single time.
Every single time.
Didn't matter how many chairs they were throwing around or screaming at their moms, you would see every single kid would show you personal responsibility in that classroom.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, his program was so big and so successful that it was nominated and inducted into the U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Fame in the year, I believe, 2004.
Correct.
Yeah, and then the building that you were running your school out of was bought.
Right, big corporation bought out all the land. We were inside of an old elementary school.
Right.
They bought that all up and basically booted everybody out. And there was a transition point where I was supposed to be moving somewhere else, and divine intervention kicked in and moved me more towards to Meet You, so we could actually be bringing this to the masses, to the world.
Right.